how do you expect a buy-in? Because one of the things you've said is the lack of trust between the Nigerian citizens or the residents of Nigeria and their government. How do you expect that buy-in? How can it be smoothened?
Well, it's a very difficult question to answer, because the issue of trust in government is not just something you deal as an isolated case. You must build confidence over time. The confidence has been destroyed, because of government non-performance or underperformance. So you need to actually draw up a framework to build confidence over time. So if you are talking about, trust in government, it's a difficult issue, because you need to look at Nigerians. Why do they mistrust their government? Why don't they trust their government? I was reading a survey result yesterday in the Times of India, where the Pew Research Center got people interviewed and discovered that 85% of Indians trust their government because government is performing. But on the other hand, about 53% of Indian citizens want a military autocracy. They want a strong leader. They believe that democracy is not working the way it should work. So many malfeasance in government. And the welfare of the people is subsumed under the interests of politicians. And it's all over the world. But this case of Indians, 53% of Indians wanting military autocracy, is something that is quite intriguing. And I was wondering, if Pew Research should come to Nigeria, what kind of discovery would they make? Many Nigerians feel that democracy has failed.
But this case in Jos, let's bring it back home. This case in Jos seems to suggest that it's an eye for many eyes.
An eye for many eyes?
Yes.
Not an eye for an eye.
It's not. This is because this is way beyond what an eye for an eye should stand for. I mean, a child was killed, and then 27 people overnight lose their lives.
Yes.
And the governor, we understand, is calling for investigation into this. How far an investigation do you think, or how much of a result will come out from an investigation ordered by the governor?
Well, I don't know. Investigation, government investigation is typical. You might not even hear anything again when an investigation is ordered by government. So I don't expect anything from, the investigation ordered by government. But the point I'm making, you're saying eye for many eyes. Well, it may look like eye for many eyes, but it could be an eye for an eye. When you say eye for many eyes, because one child died, and then about 29 people died, in retaliation. But the point is, there is mistrust, very strong mistrust between communities. This is a case of Fulani versus Biron people. I didn't want to go there, but it doesn't make any sense if we keep pretending that all is well between communities. There are cultural identities that come under focus. People want to be free from certain domination that has been there for decades. And when things like this happen, those images come to play. And that is why you have this kind of reprisal attack.
Since you've gone that route, because the Birams, what they predominantly do, it's they farm the acha, the local acha.
Yeah.
That's the Hungarian rice, and also corn.
Yes.
And that area, Miango as a whole, it's just a huge farm. You drive for kilometers, and it's just a huge farm ahead of you.
Yes.
I know that particular location, and it's surrounded by a few hills there. So I can imagine that there was a herdsman, the boy, and was able to bring his cattle to that area. And that annoys the Biron people very much.
Yes.
And they can be volatile about that. Judging from this analysis, would you say that that's happened and that was the result that led to the death of the boy?
I think so. What you are saying is correct. But one other thing you must know, when I talk about mistrust, the failure of consensus I'm talking about the issue about communities living together, coexisting, and those images of domination that has been there over time. Once something happens, those images come flashing back, and people act upon those images.
But would those images really be an issue if, for instance, we had strengthened the police force such that they can be seen to be doing their jobs, no matter whose ox is God?
Yes, that's one way to go. But you also know that the police force is a government institution. And this mistrust, this mistrust,
so
of course.
They won't trust the police, they won't trust the army, they won't trust any security agency?
Yeah, because when you look at the formation of those forces, who are those that populate the formation? So these are also questions you need to raise.
Isn't that a dangerous scenario if they begin to look at it from that angle, that perspective, rather than just say, well, this is the police force? Is that what they do? They look at the population of those agencies?
Yes, we do not see the police force as the Nigeria police force.
Why not?
Oh, they are Nigerians, all right. But we begin to look at the cultural identities again. That's why I talk about images. You know, who are those in the police force? And they believe that those who are in the police force are not for us. Rather, they are against us. And that is why the issue of community policing comes into focus. If you have people who understand the communities, the cultural issues, you will be more comfortable dealing with them. That's one, yeah.
It's something that, you know, I'm not sure how that is going to play out now, because if, as the police is presently constituted, and then they're seen to be doing their jobs, just as I said, no matter whose ox is God, you're still saying that they will still look at those who populate the force. Yeah,
if the police force, as presently constituted, do their job with fairness and justice, yes, issues won't be as this.
You talked about domination. Let's revisit that.
Yes.
Who is dominating who?
Well, you want me to go that route?
Please,
I can go that route. Okay. When you look at the communities over time, I talked about indigenship and settlership. Some people had come to settle, but became more powerful. The Hausa Fulani, for instance, became more powerful and dominated the minorities in those areas. When you talk about Taraba, you talk about Benue.
I'm sorry, is that directly related to this particular scenario?
Yes, it is directly related.
Is Irigwe Biram?
Who?
That the area that was attacked now. Are they
also?
Yes,
it's
Biram.
a Biram community.
It's called Ancha. Yes, it's Biram. It's Biram community. And that is why you have this kind of tension, you know. And why would somebody or a group of people launch an attack on a community village, you know, the village of Ancha, and slaughter about 27, 29 people just for the death of a single boy? That tells you a whole lot.
Yeah, but I mean, the special task force, that's the Major General Anthony Atolagbe, the commander of that task force, while he went on an on-the-spot assessment, says they're going to investigate what exactly happened, how this happened when they had sent the men there to protect lives and property. That's part of what we should encourage, and hoping that at the end of the day, those who are found, if anyone is found wanting, will face the music. If that happens, wouldn't that send some message that, yes, we're here to ensure that we do our jobs as security?
Yes, it will. It will. I agree with you. But what I said is that government investigation is typical. People already expect that nothing will come out.
But who else is supposed to investigate it?
Yeah, government agencies, all right. But they haven't been doing the right thing over time. And that is why people don't trust such investigations. And I'm saying that until we begin to deal with situations like this with all fairness and justice, we are not going to go far.
Okay, for this particular scenario,
yes,
what would you like to see being done so that they can then have that confidence restored?
Okay, but for this particular scenario, I would want this kind of investigation to happen and let the results be published, and let culprits be found and punished, so that people can see that justice is done.
If you say that, it has happened time and again and we didn't get that kind of result.
That's the point. You are coming to my point again.
So
let's
repeating the same strategy will not work.
Pardon?
That's what it means.
Pardon?
Repeating the same strategy that hasn't worked in the past and doing it again is just a waste of time.
No, I'm saying that if we do the right thing, do the investigation, and we know the culprits, we identify the culprits, and get the culprits punished for purposes of deterrence, then we can take it from there.
Right,
and until we begin to do that, we're not going to go far. That's the point I'm making. All
right, Dr. Idoko, security consultant, we appreciate your coming on this morning.
Thank you very much.
All right, and we'll be back in a moment. We'll still have Senator Adudu in Abuja. He'll be joining us soon. Don't go away.